my big message this time when we go back is, what is God doing with you, and where will you go from here? I'll be encouraging them to dream dreams and see visions and believe for those things, including the women. And so a big part of the training they're receiving is actually to launch home meetings from house to house. And the women are encouraged as much as the men. They're getting the same training to do the same thing, break bread from house to house. And the message was, look, you know, that we're not here to build mega churches. That's not what God called us to do. You know, we've got a pattern here that God set out for us in the book of Acts. They met from house to house. If you want to, you know, create a red flag to attract a terrorist who's going to blow himself up, he's going to blow himself up for, you know, rather for 1,000 people than a handful of 10 people meeting in a house. and so the other thing is that if we're going to have a movement that's undermining Islam, it's got to go in the underground. And those people who convert from Islam to Christianity, it's miraculous that it can even happen. Usually it's through a vision of Jesus himself appearing to them. And then they've got to find somewhere to fellowship. The majority of Christian churches won't receive them into their door. You're too dangerous. Stay away from us. Because it's, you know, they'll know that there's a whole family looking for this person who's converted and, you know, had to relocate and get away from their family because their lives are being threatened. Don't come here. And so, you know, there's this underground house-to-house church movement that we're encouraging and preparing them for is to be able to accommodate, you know, Islamic people or those who've come to Christ, who need a home atmosphere, a family to belong to and meet with regularly.
I think you had a question.
I had a silly question, it's probably not relevant. Is it possible to live there as a foreigner? Doing work like teaching English? That's what I used to do in China. And there's a few of us who came to China.
So we have had first-hand experience, a couple that we know quite well, a man from New Zealand. He's just, you know, he's a white-skinned, Aussie-looking character. He actually married a Pakistani lady, a Christian lady. And so he's over there permanently now, and they've got a full-time ministry.
Koreans running a school, Christian school. I think there is that opportunity. It's not very popular, but it's there.
Yeah, just I don't really like 2-week things.
So this brings us, this is a really great question. So then what about you? And how can you engage in this? You've heard our stories. So we have a lot of ideas, but normally with charities, they tend to sort of copy each other a lot, and there's a lot of stuff coming in your post box, a lot of stuff coming through your emails, there's banners everywhere, there's adverts. But the pointy end of it is, we had our staff meeting this morning, and we just sat around the table, and we were like, we are doing so many different things. And I keep pushing back on Paul and Linda, saying, we've got to keep it a bit more simple, because people are going to be confused as to there's just too many needs. But Paul and Linda being such humble people that if someone asks, they just try to find a way, and they'll dig in their back pocket and somehow will support that need and that emergency. So we're now really trying to define ourselves as a charity, as a not-for-profit, as to what do we really stand for, what's our main thing, and how can you support that? How would you like to? Because unless you really love it and you're excited about it and you own it, it's not really going to be your culture, your mission. So we want to work together with your passion, your conviction, your faith, not ours, about what you believe that Jesus is wanting you to be involved in. Paul, do you want to sum up the 3 main pointy things that we're really thinking of, our main things? This is our... We'll get some really nice graphics going one day, but the top 3 things, if you want to share.
So Don sat with us this morning, and Don said, look, let's just get a whiteboard and just write this up, because he wants to see it clearly, and I'm so glad he did, because we've got the 3 main points there right at the top of that page. We've got schools, Christian primary school, which we've already got operating within Pakistan. I'd love to see another school happen in the near future. We've got the discipleship training schools. I'm looking for a different word for that one, but that's what we're calling it for the time being. Young people being prepared to be sent out to spread the gospel in Pakistan or wherever God sends them in the world. It's actually in Malaysia and Fiji, which we haven't talked about. That's opened up to us last year, and we've started operating there as well, the same way that we're doing it in Pakistan. And then, of course, setting the slaves free from the brick kiln industry and setting the captives free. All of those three things we believe play into the command that Jesus gave us, and that was
But then I said, hey Paul, but what about all these other things that you pay for? And so when we set people free, they also need Bibles, and they need water pumps. The people still in the brick kilns we can't release, that we're getting requests for all the time. Then there's also crisis help when there's a flood, or not being knocked over by a flood, the other village gets burnt down. That's happened in the last couple of years. And so we try to buy tents, tarpaulins, water jugs, just to help them survive. And then there's things like vehicles to be able to get around. One guy, Pastor Marcus, has one motorbike, and he goes to 3 villages to preach the word.
Pakistan or wherever God sends them in the world. It's actually in Malaysia and Fiji, which we haven't talked about. That's opened up to us last year, and we've started operating there as well, the same way that we're doing it in Pakistan. And then, of course, setting the slaves free from the brick kiln industry and setting the captives free. All of those three things we believe play into the command that Jesus gave us, and that was
But then I said, hey Paul, but what about all these other things that you pay for? And so when we set people free, they also need Bibles, and they need water pumps. The people still in the brick kilns we can't release, that we're getting requests for all the time. Then there's also crisis help when there's a flood, or not being knocked over by a flood, the other village gets burnt down. That's happened in the last couple of years. And so we try to buy tents, tarpaulins, water jugs, just to help them survive. And then there's things like vehicles to be able to get around. One guy, Pastor Marcus, has one motorbike, and he goes to 3 villages to preach the word. Round and round he goes. So who pays for the petrol? So it's not just, about Compassion Australia. What's Compassion stand for? Fairly simple, one thing. What do? Compassion is sponsor kids. It's wonderful. It's so nice. You get a photo on your fridge. But when we're involved in Isaiah 61 and Jesus, I said, Paul, it sounds like we're very holistic ministry. And he said, yeah. And then Josh was on the phone call lying with his injured back down at Tenterfield saying, Jonathan, all through our meeting this morning, we've talked about families being supported in schools, kids growing up to influence and support the whole family financially and with the gospel, and families who are trained in discipleship to have a home church in their family home, and whole families being set free. So therefore, we are a family, and a family has to look after all the needs. You kind of just have to. But we're just called Wake Up. We want to wake people up to Jesus. If you want to really narrow it down, but the way you get there is by helping people to actually drink clean water. To have a roof over their heads and have either hear about Jesus in their ears or learn how to read about Jesus with their eyes. So it's complicated. And boy, as a fundraiser, I'm like, gee, I wish this was a lot simpler. I just want to send a photo to someone, $50 a month, job done. But no, it's a bit harder than that. So what does this mean? So we come up with all different ideas, and my wife did this thing at her last 2 birthdays. I said, well, why don't we have donation boxes? Donation boxes. Yep, and so I got these sent over from China, and they're like origami. Somehow we managed how to put them together. and then we hand printed all these things off on my colour printer. So then we put it together and put it on the tables that she has a dance party. like 80s music and stuff. And people had this on the table, and then they could either try to make it easy, they could sort of scan the QR code. But I hear that's not very popular in many places. It reminds me of COVID, possibly, probably. But then the other thing is, you can actually send a bank account money to a bank account, or you can actually sort of get along with a credit card. And often on my phone, I've got the tap and go. People can come up with their card on my phone and sort of tap and I want to give. But it's all very transactional and bits and pieces. But at the same time, say for example, if you are in your church or you're a school teacher, and you got permission to say, can I take one of these to my school and give one to each of the children in the school and take it home and put it on your dinner table? They're seeing photos of putting an end to modern slavery. They're seeing the fact that what we actually do, and there's this QR code that takes you to what is our mission. So there's an education on the table, and they can also, if you want to use that old stuff, remember cash, dollars and cents? You put that in there as well, and then do a bank transfer. So that was one idea we came up with. The other idea is Linda I didn't put a lot of Linda's photos up. She was a really good photographer. She printed out a whole lot of Christmas cards or gift cards. They cost us $1 to print, but then we sell a whole pack. We end up sort of making sort of a bit of a profit on that. That's another thing, we can send those out through requests through the website. The other thing was, then there's also, you can actually have these at your business place. There's scan the QR code yet again with some facts and details about poverty, education, brick kilns. So these are all normal things, and people literally, like Baptist World Aid does a really great buy a pig, buy a chicken. You've seen these come through. We could do a booklet, but this costs money to do this sort of stuff. Then Bible Society, that I've just stepped out of, thank you very much for all the training and the knowledge you gave me. They do another annual booklet with all their 38 missions around the world, but they keep it fairly simple by saying, by any means possible, we want to get the Bible into the hands so people understand it and hear it and have an opportunity to learn about Jesus. So booklets are good too. Thank you so much, Daniel, for giving us a brand new website where you can make donations through there. But what about you? Do you have ideas? You may think, well, what about this? What about